Okay.
Yeah, we're ready.
Okay, Fereydoun, share with us how you identified yourself as a Muslim and what you understand from that particular Arabic word in relation to describing your faith.
Well, years ago, I was very much anti-Islam or anti-Muslims until I actually started reading the Bible. And to me, it was fascinating reading the Gospels and particularly the Torah, that my understanding of those religions were so different than what I was reading and how it had changed. And until one day I was having a conversation with somebody about Islam, and he asked me a question that had something to do with Quran. And I realized that I read those books, and I know their history, but I really don't know anything about Islam. So I started reading, or actually I had
Sorry, I wanted to stop you for a second. Can you just twist the mic a little bit? We're getting scrubbing on your shirt there.
Am I fat, Ron?
Twist
No,
it which way?
Yeah, right there. That seems.
Is that good?
Actually, do you mind if I?
Sure.
I'm sorry, but it's unusable.
Yeah.
It is unusable. The microphone is scrubbing on his shirt, and it was making.
This little thing?
Yeah, it was making noise. I'm sorry.
Maybe I shouldn't move my.
Well, you become like someone.
That should be better. There. It is.
Oh, yeah. If I rub up against any fabric.
Okay, is it better now? You wanted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10?
Yes, as long as you don't move around too much,
Okay.
it should be good.
Okay.
Okay. We're still rolling, so.
Okay, so we start from the beginning?
Yeah.
Okay. Years ago in mid-'80s, I was living in the United States, and the Iranian Revolution had occurred. And my perception of Islam and Muslims was very much negative. Until one day I found a book. The title was How Jesus Became God. And I picked it up. It was a used book. I picked it up, and for some reason that night I could not put the book down. And it was absolutely fascinating. And reading the history of Christianity and the message of Jesus and so on. And then I started reading the Bible and the Torah. And to me, what was fascinating, how these religions had changed. Basically, people seem to love to mold the religion into in their own words or in their own wanting. And one day I was having a conversation with somebody about Ayatollah Khomeini, and he was saying that Khomeini had put out this edict to kill Salman Rushdie. And I said, well, he's following his book. In the Quran, it says you should kill the whoever insults Islam, and therefore that's what he's doing. Actually, what he's doing is what the Christians and the Jews are not following. And he asked me, where does it say in the Quran that it says you're supposed to kill the person? Anyway, I realized I had not read the Quran. So that night I go and pulled the only copy I had, which was Arbery edition, a very difficult book. So I started reading it, and to me it was fascinating, the fact that not only it does not say such a thing, it says when you're sitting in a place and you're having a conversation and people are blaspheming God, it says you change the subject, and if they continue, you get up and leave. And I kept going page after page. I said, somewhere there must be something in here that says you should kill such a person. And later on, I realized that everything I know about Islam basically was wrong. And very much like the other religions, it's basically people have changed the initial message of the religion.
Excellent. Then from here we can go segue hadith? Just a little bit talk about hadith.
Well, basically, it was clear that at that time I asked the question, how did this happen? And I really didn't know anything about hadith or sunnah. To be honest with you, I didn't know anything about Islam. So I asked the question, how did we get where we are now? And after reading it, I realized that there are people who wrote things down, which was basically a picture of what people thought at the time. And later on, all those became a part of the canon of the religion. And the worst thing was the fact that the Muslims had not put those things under a microscope and actually examined them, asked questions, where did these come from? And what is fascinating, the fact that many of these writers, they basically say we have collected thousands of hadiths and we throw away most of it. If you have a product that has a over 90% rejection rate, I would throw the whole thing out. So that's how I came to the conclusion that how this the initial creed of this religion had changed.
Excellent. You have met Rashad Khalifa. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience, whether it has any impact on you?
Years later, somebody was talking about this gentleman in Tucson, Arizona, that had come up with some mathematical model and so on. Interestingly, I was dealing with a gentleman in 1975, 76. He gave me an article that had something to do with 19 and so on, which had been published somewhere. And this person was very much religious. And at the time, I thought this is humbug, and I put the article away. Later on, this idea came about, so I said, why don't I investigate it further? And I called and I found out this person was in Tucson. I started talking to him. He sent all the books and so on. I started reading it, and I became fascinated with the whole concept of the mathematical model. And I went back to my files and I found that original article that I had thought it was something, it was a kind of a work of a person who probably trying to fit something into something that make it interesting. So then I went and visited Rashad. This was I was on a business trip in Tucson. I went and sat with him, and the first question I asked him, because in one of his articles he said something about that the extraterrestrials can't exist. And me, as somebody who's always been fascinated with the concept of extraterrestrial, to me, meeting an extraterrestrial probably is the ultimate experience that I can have. So to me, I just couldn't accept it. So I said, Rashad, this doesn't make sense to me. And I found him very humble and interesting guy. We sat, we talked, and I left. And I think it was about 3 weeks later he was assassinated.
You tell us about when you left Iran, and what do you think about Iranian, the so-called revolution, and today's Iran? Just a little bit your observation about what happened in Iran, and what future does Iran have?
Well, I left as a kid in late 1960s, and I was completely non-political. And I was not involved in any movements or any protests and so on. And when the revolution happened, since I was indirectly affected by some of Shah's policies and so on, I was kind of happy. I said, well, here's this man coming in, and he was talking about democracy and so on. Of course, later on, now we see the result of one of the most tyrannical theocracies that human beings could have ever invented. And the only positive thing that can be said about the Iranian Revolution is the fact that it got rid of Shah. However, the population, the people, they were not aware, they had not awakened They were not the institutions to basically develop process of democracy was not there, so they can take advantage of these revolutions. Just like majority of revolutions, it's basically gone astray, and we are in a country is in the most dire and devastating state right now.
And you were also involved in Critical Thinkers for Islamic Reform conferences. If you can shortly tell us about what was the purpose, who were the participants, and what did they expect from there?
I have come to the conclusion that Muslims have to awaken. We must come or take the path of enlightenment. And in studying the Christianity, it's clear there are three factors that are needed. The first factor that actually helped Christianity to move towards enlightenment was the attack on religion. When Christians were actually being attacked, that's when one of the processes of enlightenment started. The second one is this concept of open society. Open society has actually contributed to enlightenment. But the other factor, which is very important, is the concept of critical thinking. Muslims, at some point in time, they were critical thinkers. They used to discuss different things. They used to discuss ideas without at least looking at it from the perspective of the time, without the fear of persecution. We have lost that, and we need to regain that. That's why we've been talking about this kind of a conference, and we decided a couple of years ago, let's have a conference going on and bring all the critical thinkers together.
Excellent. It's up to you whether you answer this question. I have another question, two questions there. Have you seen Shanawaz's book on evolution? There he claims he has really strong evidences that centuries before Darwin, Muslim scholars such as Ibn Sina, Averroes, Ibn Khaldun, Ibn Haytham, they were all basically talking about evolution. In fact, evolution starting from crystals to plants to animals and to humans, and this was well known by Western world. And then Darwin was influenced by this work, and obviously went to study and collect specimens. But this is now forgotten by both Muslims and Western world. Even do not refer to these Muslim scholars who really promoted the idea of evolution, and there was no problem in early Muslims, no controversy on this subject. Would you like to talk about this?
Well, yeah, there are a number of books we know that have been, particularly recently, written about the contribution of the Muslims to the scientific world, or even the Enlightenment and Renaissance. The problem has been the Muslims, or the Muslim population, have not put forth the effort to be able to actually pass this message, be able to create documentaries and so on. And this is really our fault. The fact that in many towns you go, you see a Jewish heritage museum. And if you look at the number of Jews in the United States, Muslims are slightly less than number of Jews. But we really don't have any proper or decent museum. We don't even have a decent mosque that we can be proud to go in as men and women, pray together, and use it as a cultural center. So really it's our fault that we have not been able to pass that message along. I mean, we see this in all different aspects of science, in optics, in chemistry, in mathematics. All those guys were actually, many of those original scientists were all Muslims. But we can't expect the West to actually promote our culture. It is up to us.
Excellent. You have a new foundation, if you can talk a little bit about that, and your involvement in some competitions, and providing computers to some schools, about this kind of work, if you let us The name of the foundation.
Years ago, my wife and I, we got involved with helping refugees coming from Bosnia. And then it was Somalia. I think it was in basically early 90s. So we decided at that time form a foundation to help the refugees. I, as somebody from the political point of view, I'm a libertarian. I feel that the government should be out of our lives and all help should come from individuals, not government, not welfare. So one of the things we noticed that when you help the refugees, immediately, almost in a very short period of time, they get off the welfare system. They actually become tax-paying citizens of this country. So we started helping these immigrants, and the results were absolutely fantastic. Then from then on, we looked around and said, what else can we do? And one of the ideas that we came up with was this technological empowerment. This was in late 90s. We heard that Iranian students had actually become winners in Robocop contest. I think it was the second or third one, I'm not sure. But and this was Iran was the only third world country, and at the time there were very few countries involved: Japan, Germany, England, United States, maybe a couple of other ones. And out of nowhere, Iranian students come and actually win. So we decided this would be a good area to actually help the students. And this way they can help themselves and actually promote science and technology and so on. And so we basically started supporting, with the help of others, multiple contests that happen in Japan, in Italy, and so on. And the results been absolutely fantastic. Iran, as one of the so-called backward developing countries, have actually produced more Robocop contestants than many countries in the world. And we did that under the auspices of various organizations we had, which we had created. One was organization was created by somebody else, Science and Art Foundation, and then we helped through Noor some of the fundings and so on.
Anything else you want to add?
I think it's about time for Muslims to wake up and give up the victim mentality and look in the mirror, and that's where all the problems are. And we have to examine our past, and we have to question our practices. And without it, we will not get anywhere. And the best country in the world to do that is actually the West and United States. I feel the Islamic Reformation will come from here, not from any of these Muslim countries.
Excellent. Thank you very much.